अभी आजकल लेटेस्ट क्या स्कैम कर रहे हैं आप लोग, क्या चल रहा है?
लेटेस्ट तो यही चल रहा है सर, ब्लैकमेल, सेक्स टॉर्चर, उससे सबसे ज्यादा पैसे आ रहे हैं जी।
Cybercrime has been increasing exponentially. More than 50,000 complaints get filed every month sometimes, During COVID and afterwards, I think more than 500% rise has happened.
सर आपको 4,999 का कैशबैक मिला है, आप कलेक्ट करेंगे या डिक्लाइन?
There are criminals who target senior citizens, for instance, or women or children. Then digital arrest frauds have plagued the country a lot.
I just don't get it कि कोई कैसे बिलीव भी कैसे कर सकता है कि कोई अथॉरिटी वाला आपको व्हाट्सएप पे वीडियो कॉल करेगा.
Absolutely.
जब पुलिस वाला बन के फोन करते हो आप लोग, तो आईडी पर फोटो किसका होता है?
उसी का होता है जी.
Well educated people get trapped in it.
So what happened?
वीडियो कॉल आई व्हाट्सएप पे, तो एक लड़की सामने आई, चले आपको मैं कुछ इंटरेस्टिंग चीज दिखाती हूँ. तो मैंने फिर उसको दोबारा काट दिया, मैसेज करने शुरू किए तो मैं ये आपका ये वायरल कर रही हूँ.
And many people, frantically actually delete their information. If you delete it out, if you delete threats, for example, how would you go about proving it in the courts?
ये आंकड़ा यदि आप स्केल करें इसको तो लाख करोड़ तक भी हो सकता है.
जो पढ़े लिखे रहते हैं ना जी, वे इसमें हो जाते हैं.
Cybercrime has been increasing exponentially. More than 50,000 complaints get filed every month sometimes, and especially this cybercrime.gov.in is a national reporting portal. Then we have 1930 as a helpline.
Yeah.
And various kinds of cases. So if you categorize them, there are criminals who target senior citizens, for instance, or women or children. They target them for money, monetary gains. They target them for harassment also. And it could be, for commercial gain mostly. That is the intent for making illegal monies. There could be also personal vendetta, personal grudge. That could also happen.
Yeah.
But a lot of these cases are financial frauds. So, and a lot of cases could be again relating to, say, sexual harassment of women or children, pornographic content creation and circulation. Deepfakes have caused a huge havoc. So they not only target celebrities or politicians, there are apps, and lately we've seen an app in news also, how that is proliferating this kind of content and facilitating it. So that becomes a contributory, facilitative liability. It could also be a direct liability on such platforms because they're giving this tool for misuse.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
During COVID and afterwards, I think more than 500% rise has happened. Like it's crazy, the kind of numbers, if you see the numbers.
Right.
And it's actually shocking because I feel that we have trained a lot of, I would say, judicial academies. We've trained police academies. We are also making policies with the government. I advise often on IT law and policy, telecom policy. And I wouldn't say that we are lagging behind because we have done a lot. And what we are trying to do is very quickly see where the issues are and try to plug them. So there were a lot of loan app frauds.
Yes.
Then there were a lot of fake, I would say, courier scams. Then fake lottery scams, insurance scams, job scams, even matrimonial frauds, as I mentioned. Then digital arrest frauds have plagued the country a lot. I think
you have to explain to me.
So many of them that
I just don't get it. I just don't get it कि कोई कैसे बिलीव भी कैसे कर सकता है कि कोई अथॉरिटी वाला आपको व्हाट्सएप पे वीडियो कॉल करेगा.
Absolutely, and that's what's happening.
But at this time, what is happening? Is it the psychology? ये जो कर रहा है, जो criminal है, जो ऐसा कर रहा है, वो psychology पे खेल रहा है?
Yes,
fear
human
पे खेल रहा है?
psychology, fear. It's also social engineering. It's also, human psychology, knowing that somebody is vulnerable and, not aware of technology much. And that's why they target women, children, a lot of senior citizens, even for that matter, big corporate, houses, their directors.
Yeah.
Nobody's...
That's what, so even the educated and the most professional people are falling
and I've
for
handled some of these cases. And I see that even well-educated people get trapped in it.
So what happened? In that case, what happened? Like in the
Yeah.
case of an educated
So
person.
they received an email saying that your domain is expiring, or you need to renew this license of antivirus on your system, and without realizing, they just clicked on the link, and it was from a phishing website. And once the system gets corrupted, or hacked, there are a number of things on your system, and they would pull out something which is very personal maybe to you, and then they start blackmailing.
But because this whole cyber crime is new, what I hear around me is that no, it can't happen to me.
Yes. No, but there's nothing foolproof. Even you may have the best of technology, the best of education, or your vigilance in your departments, yet you have to be always on the vigil, like constantly training your resources, your human resources. That's why we do so much. Even the government is doing a lot in terms of law enforcement trainings, in terms of chambers of commerce are also doing a lot, not only making people aware. Even the ISCA division of the MIT, Ministry of IT.
Yeah.
So I've been long associated. We do Cyber Jagrukta Divas every month, and various divisions of Ministry of IT or Telecom or different other ministries of the government, their employees, their officers, because now this education is for everyone.
Yeah.
Be it government or private sector, it's for everyone. So we not only educate or train the key officials or functionaries, be it IS officers or judges or anyone else, but also the common man, because this needs to go down deep roots into even rural India.
Absolutely.
Everybody has a cell phone today. You see a vegetable vendor also has a Google Pay or another account.
Absolutely.
Which he is using for yes.
Yeah.
So if they are not aware of these loopholes, whatever little they are earning, even that can get very easily siphoned off.
Absolutely. Do you think India can handle if like a major cyber warfare was to happen, or like what we keep hearing about, like a major shutdown of the infrastructure like electricity or major hospital network? If something like really major was to happen, where does India stand right now?
Well, we have robust policies in the government, and I'm also advising on projects of Ministry of IT, Ministry of Defense, and there are a lot of different projects that we keep doing in terms of policy and otherwise also. So the laws are in place, the policies are in place, and lately we've also looked at cyber terrorism as a threat in the cyberspace, and how proactive can we be. Okay. So we do have insight into what kind of threats we hold today here, and we are proactive, and we do have not only our blueprint in terms of policy framework, our personnel well trained, we have the technology also, and we will not take something which is a transgression or a trespass into our territory, or sovereignty, any threat to sovereignty or integrity of India. So we are proactive, and we are very, very cautious of this fact that what kind of infiltrations can happen, what kind of vigilance and surveillance activities in the cyberspace. And the country has seen, though, a lot of different kinds of attacks, be it Pegasus, issues, or the AIMS attack, which we've just seen. There are a number of instances. However, we don't take a back foot. So we are on a front footing, and we are guarding our borders.
Are you all responding to these policy changes and these steps after an incident has happened? Or you're actually visualizing and imagining what can happen tomorrow and taking a preemptive step?
We take preemptive steps. We foresee the problems because we know the technology, how quick it is moving. And today's AI times, we've just had the AI summit recently. Yeah. We are talking about declarations, for AI for all, as we call it.
Yeah.
There have been huge deliberations around this, space with, people like officials coming from various parts of the world.
Right.
And our Prime Minister, he has very categorically, put it in the world that India is going to stand for AI. It's going to build AI. And any investment which goes into it is not going to just be for us, but for humanity. So we have a very clear stance of what we want to do and where we are going to head.
Nice.
But for that, we are very, proactive in the sense that we will not take a defensive stand. We will always be proactive. We cannot in today's times and age.
No, there's no end to.
There is no end to
no
it,
end.
and unless you're on the vigil, on the guard, and you foresee things, and you're able to take care of yourself and your territory, you cannot be of assistance or help to humanity or people at large.
And also,
we are
there's
trying
no
to make
end to
global
fear.
standards.
There's
Yes.
also no end to fear. If we just
In
keep on
fact-
being negative about
Yes.
what will happen, then how will we even progress?
Correct.
You won't even try out new things.
Correct. And today's volatile environment, the way
Yeah.
you've seen what's happening in the US,
Yeah.
in India, and the other countries, how, what's happening in China, what's happening in Pakistan. We know what's happening in the geopolitical terrain today.
Yeah.
So today specifically is not the time and space to wait and watch. It is a time to act. It is a time to, be, I would say, not only protected, but also ready to protect others.
Wow. So you said two things. If you could explain what is cyber terrorism?
Yes, on a general stance, I would say that there are countries who are now, including India, very, very clear on what amounts to cyber terrorism. So whether it is any kind of hacking attempts which are on protected systems of the government, whether it is critical infrastructure of the country, there could be networks which are automated, which are computer networked, for example, power grids. They could be like you have healthcare sector. There is a complete, internet facilitated, systems which are running the healthcare area.
Yeah.
And there could be also other, like banking systems, for example.
Railways.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there is an attack of this sort, it would not only cause damage or jeopardize the system, but cause huge amounts of losses to people and public property as well. So one is mindful of the fact that there could be harm to citizens, there could be harm to public property, and also the infrastructure of the state.
Right.
So whatever public infrastructure is there. So any kind of unauthorized access into these kind of systems which are protected, any kind of large scale losses which may be caused to people or any kind of harm, whether it's physical or if it's in property. So all this will come under cyber terrorism, any threat to sovereignty of the country, any threat to friendly relations with other states, integrity of India. So we are very clear on where we need to draw a line. We know what's fundamental rights of citizens and where a particular attack or an attacker, or if it's a syndicate or a group, they are funneled with money laundering and other kinds of activities. There are criminal groups operating. There are often state actors also that may be involved. Sometimes there are private groups doing the same. Terrorist activities may be there.
What are they doing? I am not at all clear.
See, they are all financed, these terrorist groups and activities, and they would all try to infiltrate into protected systems of the government or infiltrate those systems or cause unauthorized access, steal a lot of data of people, which is sensitive data, which may be banking related data, which may be health related data, or cause destruction. Rail grids can be, brought into damage or destruction. There could be other kinds of, attacks. So we don't know, because computers are used everywhere these days. It's not just a personal use thing. It's everywhere, be it government or it's public infrastructure. So if you look at the gravity, I would say, and the large scale of havoc that it can cause, to people's lives and their properties. So that can be huge, immense.
Absolutely.
That could be even air crashes. So where are we
Airline
drawing
system.
a line?
We just saw a sample.
Air, water, ships, whether it is airspace or missiles or even drones, which surveillance to drones. Then they could be, on road or rail, any sector, you name it, any place. So there's nothing which you cannot infiltrate today using technology. So it could be even smartphones that we are using today, and large-scale destruction, because there could be ATM grids which could be affected. The whole banking system collapses. Right? So we are aware of these threats, and therefore laws and policy measures, guidelines keep coming, advisories keep coming from time to time from the government, and trainings, of course, awareness is also being given. And unless we take proactive measures to plug these loopholes and have a good investigative network through Interpol, we will not be able to achieve, because these are cross-border crimes. They're often cross-border, and we need international cooperation. And therefore, summits like the AI summit we've just had, or the G20 meet which we had earlier, play a very, very important role, not just protecting and strengthening our own cybersecurity posture, but also of other neighboring countries who we sign up declarations with, or who we sign up cooperation arrangements with. So our MLAT systems, or the letter rogatory systems, or multilateral, bilateral treaties, all of them play a very important role in this whole ecosystem. With changing geopolitics, we need to have more, a rearrangement of international cooperation.
Okay.
So when I advised my IT also, Ministry of IT, we were working on some recommendations why we need to sign the UN Convention on cybercrime, and Budapest we haven't signed, the Budapest Convention, but the emphasis and focuses on having quicker timelines of response, because you know how intangible rather, is the whole cyberspace and the electronic evidence. So it takes seconds to have a video go viral. It takes seconds to just delete the content out.
Absolutely.
Right? So we can't wait for 6 months to get a report to investigate a case.
Right.
For example, women trafficking, online cybercrimes against women. We've seen child trafficking issues online, how their videos through DNA photo hash mechanism could be taken down and could be stopped from getting viral. There are groups, targeted, groups who've been doing this sort of a criminal exercise, and then they have been tracked. So with credit card companies,
what did the criminals do?
The criminals were actually recording, children-related content, like sexually explicit content, and then they would generate videos, or and then they would put up those on websites, or then blackmail them sometimes, and sell that pornographic materials abroad, right? Even facilitating child trafficking. So I know that we worked a lot on, and I've seen those, demos and other things, how the investigation teams, even down south in Kerala and otherwise, they have been able to track, the perpetrators, and successfully track the identities of these criminal groups and take legal action. Yes.
So how does it come, the cases that come to you, what are some of the examples कि लोगों को पता कैसे चला कि उनकी photograph misuse हुई है?
So it will be either through somebody who's a known acquaintance.
Okay. They spotted it somewhere.
And then, or it's gone viral, so anybody obviously notices it, and then would have told the person, and then one complains. When one complains, then either the social media platform would take that down within say 24 hours earlier, and now 2 hours of time. And if they fail to act on it, then there is a grievance addressal, appellate committee. They look into it. Even that doesn't, solve the issue, then they go to court to seek an injunction order from the court. And there are times when I've also sought injunction orders for our clients, where takedown orders have been taken. And if it is causing defamation, for example, to a celebrity or a politician or anyone who is defamed, yes. They can claim compensation, they can claim a takedown immediately. Personality rights have been affected. So, of citizens, of celebrities, for example, be it Bollywood or any other celebrity. I mean, if one is a famous person, his face has been morphed to create another, say, image.
Right.
Obviously, if it harms the personality rights, the voice likeness, it's been used for a commercial purpose in a banner, for instance, to promote a product or a service. You've not got royalties without the consent. You've not got any royalties either, nor have you consented, right? So obviously, personality rights get affected in that regard, and therefore they can also claim that, apart from defamation, which may be the case, if it's not used in the proper light. Obviously, there would be defamation as well.
So you said that first of all, if the photograph or the video is spotted, then contact the platform, which can take action within 2 hours now.
Yes.
But how do we, something is on Meta or Instagram or anywhere on YouTube, how
You
do I
contact
contact?
the grievance redressal officer. Every website has a grievance redressal officer. It's mandatory.
Okay.
So there has to be a privacy policy. There has to be a terms of use there. Even in our data protection law, we have a need for a appointment of a grievance officer. So you can claim your grievance there, and you say that you would.
So if you just Google for saying the grievance redressal cell of Meta,
Yeah, you can find that
Then
on
that
their
information will
website
come.
and the terms and conditions, and the contact would be there. I just recently handled a case where an architect, a very famous architect, his logo was morphed and is misused by another, like a corporate house, which was not authorized to use the logo. They misused the copyrighted pictures of buildings. And when we complained to Instagram, within 2 hours, those profiles were removed. Platforms act very quickly if it is a sexually explicit content.
okay,
Number two, if copyright is involved, copyright, trademark, or an identity theft, if a fake profile has been created, if they're able to verify the authenticity of a person and say, okay, this is a fake profile, those cases. These
but
are
I've
very
been hearing a lot
clear.
of fake profile cases specifically, where people are not getting any help. Like the fake profile to 2 minutes mein bana ke live ho jati hai,
Yes.
right? And there are a lot of people who get to know about these fake profiles much later. Like it's very incidental that you get to know, right?
Correct.
But then even then, people have been trying to report, but it doesn't solve well for many days.
Actually, they don't know, first of all, the law in the country,
Right.
and they're not aware where to write and how to write.
Yeah.
So
if you can help with that.
Yeah, so if there is an issue with any platform, especially with the new data protection law that we have, if you want to report any kind of crime, whether it's harassment or it's bullying or any kind of stalking, for example, trolling,
Yeah.
you can report to the portal by writing to the grievance redressal officer of that particular portal,
Okay.
and save that information that you have sent.
Okay.
That complaint. If they fail to act say if it's sexually explicit content in 2 hours time, if it's a deepfake or otherwise, then you can immediately take it up with the grievance appellate committee, which is also a digital office under MIT, Ministry of IT.
Okay.
If that also doesn't help, then if it's a criminal case, for example, you can go and file a cybercrime complaint immediately with the cybercrime cell, like the cybercrime.gov.in portal of the government, and 1930 is the helpline. Right. And apart from that, you can, if the platform still doesn't take it down, then you can file a case in the court seeking an interim injunction as well as damages. So criminal proceeding as a FIR gets registered is separate from civil proceeding, which is to gain compensation and get an injunction order. Right, a takedown order, for example.
That's later.
Yeah,
That's
yes.
But at least, so that at least addressing and informing that violation has happened.
Yes.
These are the steps.
And many people, frantically actually delete their information. They are scared because they see somebody has created a fake profile, instead of saving that information, because they are going to be handy for evidence. If you delete it out, if you delete threats, for example, how would you go about proving it in the courts? So it's important to know that even a message or even a email or a threat, verbal or otherwise, a video call, if you can record it, and keep it, or at least take a printout, that will be helpful. And rather than deleting it, because then there are also, for example, if an email has come to you from a fake place, you can track it through an IP header. There's an originating IP from which you can track from where it is sent.
Right.
Right. So,
but if I've taken a screenshot.
And you should keep that email as well. Don't delete it, I would say, because it's important to understand that there is a way of understanding and tracking that information also.
Right. So if I get a mail,
Hmm.
it's from some random address.
Yes.
Right. If I've taken a screenshot
Hmm.
but the screenshot, I can still read what the email ID was. Then if I was to give that to the cybercrime cell and it's something XYZ something.
No, they will still ask you for the header of the email, which is given as it's given as a full header option. You can actually read it. It shows from the whole chain of servers from which it has come through.
So
There's a way of reading it.
How do I get that header
You
information?
can. There is a way of getting it. There is
Okay.
an option in the email platform that you use. Even in
Okay.
Google that has.
Okay.
If you see view full source, you will get that.
If there is a video call coming in, what do? Like video call is full screen, and so maximum a person can do is a screenshot.
Yeah, you do that. That should be fine. Yes.
Okay. So you
and
don't.
the number of the person, you can report it, no?
So the number,
yes,
like a half number
of
comes
course.
in. It
And
doesn't
I think Telecom Ministry has also set up a service by which you can see if your your SIM has been replicated anywhere else.
Yes.
And so there is a Cybersecurity, I think.
Yeah, Cybersecurity.
Yeah. So there are other tools and technologies which they are giving, and even service providers, I know that they're also flashing if it's a spam call or not. So that's also another way. But there are other private operators and I think software and apps you can use to, like Truecaller or others.
Yes,
that
for
are
identification.
existing in the domain.
So
Yes.
as a legal expert, before something has happened, अगर कोई senior citizen है जिसको कोई कॉल आ रही है जिसमें बोल रहे हैं आपका ये नुकसान हो जाएगा, आपका ये प्रॉपर्टी हम जब्त कर लेंगे, कुछ हो जाएगा, तो what would you advise that one can do to buy time and figure out the logistics instead of getting panicked?
Yeah, so just hang up the phone if there's any threat or any kind, or try to record it. If it's possible, there's always an audio option, and you can record through an app also that you've installed on your phone, and give that as a clip to the investigating body to actually see, because the police needs to see what has happened and which phone number has been used. But ultimately, you can trace the person through the telecom operator that has been used.
Phone number se we can trace anybody.
Yes, pretty much anybody, in fact, yes.
Today's time, where AI platforms are creating identities, deepfakes, the criminals are arresting us, right? And all of it, and the platforms are using our data to advertise to us and to grow their platforms. So what really is data today?
Data is power today. I would say data is the most powerful thing.
But my data, in form of my face and my voice,
yes,
a platform creates it in 30 seconds. Anybody can just create my...
See, whether it's biometrical data,
Yeah.
or it's your personal financial data or your health record, all this is sensitive data.
Yes.
And any personal information, that is personal identifiable information, including your phone number, your email address, is your private property. Okay, so the law is very clear on the data protection front, that if you choose to give your particular information, you have to read the terms and conditions of the person who's asking you, or the entity which is asking you for the same. And even that entity now cannot take more than information than necessary to provide that service. Earlier, the position was not so. Because they would, even if you want to download an app today for delivery of food, for instance, they would be very easily taking data which is relating to your contacts, your access to your phone gallery, your photos.
Yes.
All this was not required to deliver that service, right?
Yes.
To deliver food.
Yeah.
So now with the DPDP paradigm shift, the collectors of information, which are known as data fiduciaries, they cannot collect more information than necessary, and the consumers have a right of privacy. Whether they want to share it or not is their prerogative, right? And to what extent they cannot collect more than necessary, so therefore this protection is there.
And who decides what's necessary?
In order to, for example, deliver a service like delivery of food, address is necessary,
Right.
But access to your photo gallery or your what is your political view about something, or your religious view, or
It's
your
not
voter
necessary.
ID, not necessary. It's simple that way.
So if a platform is asking me for any data, which I feel is not required for that
You
service,
can choose to refuse or walk away. Yeah.
but can I still use that service?
No, because it's a contractual service. If they don't allow, if it keeps it as an optional thing, it's different. You may, like you have a cookie policy today.
Yes. Yeah.
So you choose necessary cookies.
Switch off or switch it on.
If it's an opt-in, opt-out, it's different. Then they're asking you for consent. But if they're asking you to have a bundled consent that once, if you want to use our service, you have to give access to these 10 things, then it's your right to say no and walk away.
So let's say before this November of 2025, anybody whose data was stolen, what rights did they have then? And now that this has been announced, then what are the rights of somebody at an individual level whose data has been stolen and it can be proven?
So there are two things. One is if there has been a disclosure of like data which has been collected without due consent to sell, for example, sale to a third party. You've collected data from a user, right? Now, if this was not with due consent, then that needs a fresh consent, and now that data cannot be used anymore. Okay, so it was even earlier illegal, but now more so because the law says that you cannot use that data which has not been taken with due consent. Express
so any
consent.
platform which is like, let's say 3-year-old and they've been collecting the data for the
So
past
they need to take fresh consent. That's what I mean. And then not only that, if it was stolen, when it comes to stolen data, then it's a different connotation altogether. Then it's a criminal activity where there's intent involved, there's knowledge involved. Obviously, that was also something which is comes under hacking. RT Act Section 66, up to 3 years of imprisonment, fine or more as a punishment. And if you've stolen, that is, entity steals data. So that has a different legal recourse altogether.
Right.
But in terms of civil liability, I'm talking about contravention of law. Damages, penalties can be imposed under our current law. And if it's earlier consent did not, was either not taken or was not taken in the manner which is, expressed, then fresh consent is always advised.
So as an individual, if my data is stolen and I find it, then who is responsible and what do I get out of it? Do I get a compensation because my data was
this
stolen?
is an interesting question. Well, in the earlier law, we had, there was once there's a grievance of somebody who's lost his data and harm is caused to the person, one would report to the adjudicating authority. Now the SPDI rules and 43A of the IT Act have been done away with. So the option is to go to the data regulator, that is the Data Protection Board, and ask for whatever penalties that can be imposed on that particular entity for breaching the compliances which were necessary. DPDP still has certain loopholes. The DPDP also has a loophole that it doesn't mention any particular standard for technical, robustness to be checked. For example, earlier we had a recommended standard of ISO 27001 for maintaining security. Now it doesn't have any benchmark. So we don't know what will fulfill the requirement of technical organizational measures. So the government needs to come up with, clear-cut guidelines on that as well.
When we talk about consent, normally on a platform, the consent is a checkbox, right?
I agree button.
It's an agree button. You can't move ahead without that. And whatever is written in it, I know we are all supposed to read it, but it is written also very, very nicely. It's so layered that you actually don't really comprehend.
The consent has to be expressed. It has to be in clear language, English language, and one, from the regional languages, one of the 8th schedule, languages. It has to be very clear and unambiguous, and it should not be in fine print embedded in a clause within a huge contract.
But
so
let's say the platforms that have it, whatever.
Yeah.
So
True.
what is being done about checking whether that consent is good enough?
They have to be, very clearly given and in a sort of a notice which is very clear and lucid. It shouldn't be anything which is like not somebody would not understand. And one has to very clearly then say I agree button, and then there will be affirmative action on the part of the consumer to say so that yes, he agrees or she agrees to it. So without that, if it's just a fine print, one line, single line inside embedded in a huge contract, doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It will not qualify as a express consent.
Everybody who's hearing you here, for the next 1 year or for till the DPDP Act really gets implemented and executed, what are the things that you will tell individuals and startups, small companies which do not have compliance backbone and spine to strengthen it? Two categories. What will you tell these categories to be careful about and to be very mindful about while using the internet for personal use or for work?
So with the Data Protection Act coming into being now, for individuals, we always recommend that, they have to be mindful of what information is being collected from them, who is collecting it, is it necessary, have they given a consent for that? And a user has rights under that law. So user can ask the information, what information they have collected. They can withdraw their consent if they want to. They can update their phone number if they'd like. So any kind of user rights have also been given in this regard. And for updating any information that they would have given or any kind of data that they have given earlier, they can choose to do that. All those, and the right to nominate their digital assets if they've given a digital like datas of their own, like email ID or any account they hold with them. They can also nominate, just like you can create a will. You can also in a bank account you have a nominee.
So you can
actually
put a nominee for
give
your
the
email
rights
ID?
of managing your digital data with that entity to your nominee.
How do you
Whoever.
do that?
There is a right given under the law. There will be processes for the same, but it is a new right which we don't even find in the European Union, or other
I've not
countries.
heard of this. Yeah.
Yes, but there is a right.
So it
individuals-
exists, it's implemented?
Absolutely. This will now...
It's getting done.
Yeah, the notice consent requirements are being put in place, and this new law will be actually, when it goes full swing, there will be all these, user rights which they can actually exercise.
Nice.
Right? So these are certain things, but apart from that, one has to be mindful of what information they're sharing, especially health records. If they're sharing that entity has to keep it in an encrypted manner. So due security measures have to be put in place by that entity.
But if I'm giving my health records to a hospital, I have no say in the matter of how they're
That's
keeping
why
it.
if you find any lapse, any kind of data leakage or a breach, you can report to the Data Protection Board also. That is there. And as far as SMEs are concerned, or startups are concerned, I would say that we are emphasizing a lot on there will be certain exemptions maybe for startups, but then when the government will explain declare what kind of entities will be exempted, those can be excluded. But the others will have to follow the norms, and they will also have to look at, for example, their organizational measures, whether the legal policies are in place, whether it's a privacy policy, terms of use, compliances, are there compliances, DPDP compliant, technology tools also embedded, are there processes aligned with the DPDP law? So an entire audit is necessary, both from the point of view of law, legal compliance, as well as technical.
As people, because perfection will only come by people, whatever processes get done. Being in the trade for so long, what do you think is this one strength or capability of the authority people in the authority, which needs to change? If that way of life does not change, then like all DPDP Act, all AI intelligence, will not be able to really benefit from it because of this one way of operating that we have seen.
Well, I know that there are very skilled professionals, and there are very skilled officers in various sectors, be it law enforcement, government, or otherwise.
Yeah.
What I feel we must encourage as a skill is, when there are IS officers, for instance, they are public servants, right? So instead of just having that role, if they have a humanitarian mindset, it creates a shift in the way they approach their daily routine tasks and problems they're handling. Because for any government officer or for any law enforcement officer, it's important to serve the people, right? So the empathy, the compassion, or the humanitarian approach is somewhat dwindling at this point, which I feel needs to be strengthened in the entire system. And if we do something for that kind of a mindset, number one, we do it passionately. Number two, we can be more creative at it because we want to serve. Okay, so and thirdly, it has an impact because word of mouth, one thing gets solved, it has a sort of a chain reaction.
Absolutely.
And a success can be success for the nation. That's what really matters. And then we can set an example for the world. And why even today Prime Minister Modi is talking about AI for all. You can understand what I'm trying to say is what is reflected in this small phrase. Why I say AI for all is all because we don't think for only ourselves. We think for the world, right? So that is the approach which, he's a visionary, the approach that we see that every public servant needs to have in India, especially.
I get it. So just to simplify it, what you're saying is that AI for all means that wherever there is a lacuna, wherever there's a dark spot, whether it's in our way of process, whether it's something that we don't know, or any other space, that's what the AI ideally should be able to figure.
Yeah, we can use technology for the advancing, I would say, let me put it this way. We can use technology to advance humanity and humanitarian goals. That's the reason why we talk about responsible AI. Why otherwise responsible AI really means either AI can be a boon or a bane. So it's up to us how we deal with it, right? So if you keep that in mind, then it's very clear that we cannot do without ethics. Even in technology. Leave aside other things. For all of them, it goes without saying ethics is an important, I would say, cultural matrix of India in any case. And various nations in the world have their own ethical component. For India, we have very strong roots and culture, right? So we are built on the foundations of ethics.
Absolutely.
And when that is the case, how can technology escape that? It should actually embrace it. So that's the reason why we talk about AI for all and in a way responsible AI.